The Whirlm is the lowliest of creatures you can meet on Pinata Island, or the largest. It's the easiest piñata to attract because all they need is a little bit of soil, which means even if you run out of money, there's a constant supply of Whirlms you can sell. Bispottis are Trouble in Paradise's Whirlms essentially. All you need is 3 poppies in the garden to attract them, and they can in turn attract other piñatas because they eat them. Hi, I'm Two-Siders. Today I will show you all 88 Viva Pinata species, even the ones from Trouble in Paradise, their candy origins, and even some piñatas that were scrapped through development. I will also share a few interesting facts about them that I've learned on my journey. I collected them all just for this video. In fact, our themed park video series was just a pretense, just so I could collect them all. The piñatas are not in alphabetical order. I organized them in a little bit more of an interesting fashion, the order in which you would probably meet them in game, plus some custom ordering like putting the evolutions together. If you like Animal Park content, you can subscribe to my channel, otherwise liking a video and commenting under it pushes it to more people. Strap yourselves in, pour yourself a hot chocolate, which is, I guess, piñata blood, and let's talk about every piñata species there is. The Whirl is our first piñata that you can trap in the desert, and all it requires is a little bit of sand. They have a cool desert pyramid for a home, and I just find them very cute.
Hey, sweetness.
The Robin is basically the Pinarctic variant of the Whirl, requiring only a little bit of snow to become residents. Robins eat the poor Bispotti to romance, and their home is literally Christmas stockings. The Tefly is probably my favorite piñata. They are so easy to attract, they are used for many piñatas as a prey animal prerequisite, and they have a special ability to turn any fruit into free fertilizer. Probably the best early money-making scheme is sending Teflies into torches and putting them out with a watering can. In case you don't understand, what's left is a red hot, worth 10 times as much money as a regular Tefly. Each piñata has 3 color variants that you can discover by feeding them various stuff. The white flutterscotch is special because it has 8 other color variations, and they technically count as a separate species in the game, bringing up the total species to 97, I guess. A chameleon will only be a part of your garden if you have at least 5 differently colored flutterscotches. While hunting in Viva Pinata, or whilst fleeing in Trouble in Paradise, the chameleon can turn invisible, just like my friends in real life. 1 turnip is all that is required to attract a marshmallow. They live in a grandfather clock and get eaten by snakes, cats and owls. Oh yeah, and there's also Mr. Unbustable from the TV show. Sparrowmint is probably the second piñata you'd meet if you only ever played the original, because they eat the poor worms. Their stubby feet always reminded me of real-life amputees. In the original game, if you fed a buttercup flower to a sparrowmint, you would get a cannery. In Trouble in Paradise, you have to feed them a carnivorous dandelion flower, making the maneuver much more dangerous. Buzzanges eat canneries, and chippopotamuses also love them.
Arcspeckers are small, parasite-eating birds found in sub-Saharan Africa. They are known for their habit of perching on large mammals.
Canneries can also work in the mine, which is a reference to real-life canaries, smelling dangerous gases and getting converted to dead canaries. It's very simple to attract bunnycombs. All you need is a couple of carrots. I really like the animations they did for this animal. They're always sort of shaking like real-life bunnies. Partridges from Trouble in Paradise love daisy seeds. They are based on the real-life partridge animal, and their walking animation is great. It's almost like they are fat, pouty babies. Both the Bunnycomb, Tartridge, and the coming Cluckles fear the following Pinata, the Pret's Tail. It eats the former two to become resident, and the latter to romance, at least in Trouble in Paradise. The Pret's Tail home is a dilapidated chicken coop, which is pretty funny. Throw a bone at your old pal, the Pret's Tail, and it becomes a Paina. It's kind of funny that the Paina home is the Pret's Tail home, but with sand. Painas are in a fierce rivalry with the Chalkstritch, for a very good reason. A couple pieces of corn and the Cluckles is yours. They are quite useful because once directed to an egg, they will instantly hatch it. This can save you a lot of time when you are trying to get the Master Romancer award for a given piñata. Just like in real life, once you feed a couple of cactus seeds to a chicken, they turn into an ostrich. If Cluckles hate Pret's tails, Chalkstritches hate Painas because Painas eat Chalkstritch eggs to romance. Remember I told you about turning tafflies into red hots? Well, if you don't do it fast enough, they will fall prey to the Lickitung. I quite like the Lickitung animations. They can hop around and turn into a balloon, kind of like in Shrek. Just like in real life, once you feed poison berries to a frog and you hit them over the head with a shovel, they turn into poison frogs. I am very disappointed with the Lickitung design overall because poison dart frogs are one of the most colorful animals in the world, and Lickitungs are quite lacking. They are just Viva Piñata's grimace shakes. Geckos are the second desert piñatas you would encounter after Sweetles, requiring only 2% sand. They like to hunt flutterscotches and moth drops, and they fear the mighty Batchsicle. I just like the Pinata Island description for the Gecki home. To make itself less appetizing, the Gecki appears to live in a little boy's tonsils. Moth drops are the representation of the moth meme because they require a lamp to become residents. This was my first wildcard piñata, so they are dear to my heart. They are also dear to Sherbet and Galagugu's stomachs. I'm not kidding when I say buzzlegums are probably the most useful piñatas in the entire game. They are the real keepers. Beekeepers. I don't think we've had a single episode of Themed Park where we did not need them. 7 piñata species either hunt them or need them as an unblock requirement. They can produce honey through the honey hive building, but only once you equip them with a beekeeper helmet in Trouble in Paradise. I just like to pronounce raisins the French way. In Trouble in Paradise, your new gardens always have one raisin, but otherwise you can attract them with honey produced by buzzlegums. Just like buzzlegums and tafflies, unfortunately a bunch of piñatas eat raisins. Serpents require a little bit of grass, probably so they can effectively hunt marshmallows. They belong to the group of cool piñatas whose homes are just a giant head of the piñata itself. If you watch serpent eggs closely, once they start bouncing big, if you hit the poor egg with a shovel on the third bounce, a 2-headed twinger snap will hatch. Twinger snaps are based on the real-life ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend because they are literally 2-faced snakes. Similarly to twinger snaps but with more bounces, you can get a 4 heads. These are the snakes with the best chance to fight against a sour bonbon, but the bonbon will run away unless you feed them a joy candy. Don't try wildcard snakes though. Fight him! Their home is an ancient Greek temple because the animal is based on the Hydra. After Professor Pester destroyed the original garden and literally killed someone, he also corrupted 12 piñata species. These are the sours. To unlock their normal variants, first you must convert these sours back to normal. Let me show you the first 6 sours. The first on the list is the mostly harmless shelly bean, which eats your seeds in its sour form, but once converted will destroy weeds for you. The sour sherbet sucks the nectar out of sleeping piñatas, making them sick, but once converted they will become, well, they just become fat versions of the sour variant. They don't do anything but look stupid in their Scooby-Doo castle home. As a sour, the Crola literally fucking eats your sick piñatas. You must have a tombstone and a medicine to convert them. A medicine is tinkered honey, which is pretty cool because it's based on real life, because honey cures sick people. Unless they have diabetes. The sour profitamol will eat your flowers and you must feed it mushrooms to convert it. But first, you must tinker to convert poisonous mushrooms into normal ones. This is what happened when I tried. Once converted, profitamols will be happy eating those dirt patches left over by your miners, which are actually pretty annoying to destroy by shovel. The Arctic sour lemoning has the ability to explode like a creeper in Minecraft, but once converted, they can convert sour candies into happy sweets without getting sick themselves. The desert variation of the lemoning is the Smorpion. It stings piñatas in its sour form, making them fucking dead. No, just kidding. It makes them unhappy though. The Smorpion has the best desert-themed home in my opinion, which is based on the Petra monument. Let's talk about a couple of water creatures. Newtgats love watercress flowers and hate licatodes, which makes them fairly difficult to put in the same water garden. The Newtgat home is a paper lantern, and I just love the fact they can climb on stuff. Look at them climbing on the Viva Pinata logo. Feeding a chili pepper to a Newtgat turns them into fire-breathing salamangos. They love eating red hots, melting ice, and they also get eaten by a baby dragon. Kind of like a mix between a rockhopper penguin and an emperor penguin, the pangum loves cold water and snow, hot chili, and I guess regular temperature Newtgats. Their home is a fridge. Cherapins are neither turtles or tortoises. They are terrapins, which are kind of like a combination of both. They love water, sand, and licatode eggs, and their home is literally the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sewers. Crustaceans are lovely, colorful, but fearful piñatas. They require water, sand, and of course a surfboard to be attracted to the garden. I really like when flying piñatas sleep on the top of crustaceans. It makes them look like eldritch horrors beyond human comprehension. Quackberries require the same things as real-life ducks do. Water, corn, and bread.
Not to mention a duck.
Their house is a kick-ass pirate ship. Just like in real life, feeding a gooseberry to a duck turns it into a goose. I would love to house quackberries, juicy geese, and swananas in the same garden if they weren't fighting all the time. What is it with water piñatas? The fudge hog has probably the most unique design in Viva Pinata, given the fact it looks like a peanut. Fudge hogs love eating berries, the annoying thistleweed, and they also love piles of leaves. Just like in real life, feeding coconuts to hedgehogs turns them into armadillos. Furthermore, rhinos love hunting and eating parmadillos. I just love how the parmadillo home is the fudge hog leaf pile home, but instead it has armor scales instead of leaves. Hazelnut trees are notoriously one of the most difficult trees to fully fertilize in Viva Pinata, but once you get your hazelnuts, squazzles are not far behind. They get eaten by twinger snaps and batchsicles to romance though. I recently learned in real life that real life squirrels place all these nuts on the ground, and they're unfortunately notoriously forgetful too. So most of the nuts that they forget sprout into trees, essentially keeping up the forest. Many piñatas are afraid of the batchsicle, and for good reason. In the original, you needed nocturnal piñatas, but in Trouble in Paradise, they just eat geckos to become residents, and also lemmings to romance. Their home is a hobbit home. Kittyflows have quite the varied diet. They eat mice, sparrows, lemmings, and canaries. Their home is a Japanese oriental house. To me, they look like nightmare fuel because of their red eyes. Once there are 3 kittyflosses in the garden, a bark is not far behind. I mean, as long as you #unblock the dog. One of my kittyflosses just completely went and left the garden because it kept getting scared by the bark. You can simply tap fruits with your shovel, which instantly turns them rotten. Important information for attracting raspberries. Also important information that you can tinker twice with Bart on certain items. Tinkering milk makes cheese, and tinkering cheese makes cheesecake, which turns an ordinary raspberry into a hawkhurt. Both piñatas should fear the big bad wolf. Swananas are one of the most finicky piñatas. You need an expensive garden, 25% water, and even a Swanana fountain to attract them. It suits them that their home is a noble golden palace. Once you romance a raspberry and a Swanana, you get the pixie, the freak of nature. It's the only mutant piñata in the game, though they were planning to make a platypus by romancing the quackberry and a sweet tooth. I always felt bad for the pixies because they had these googly eyes that just spelled suffering. If you thought the Swanana was bad, what about the piñata that needs them as a prerequisite? This is why I never understood why they fight each other. Besides a Swanana, the Pecan mix needs to eat blue and green flutterscotches to acquire its blue and green feathers. As you can imagine, the Pecan mix is one of the most colorful piñatas in the entire game. Once it opens its tail feathers to fight. Why is the dragonfly so late on the list? It's very annoying because you need 25% water like a Swanana, 12 separate bulrush flowers, so you can't just fertilize 3 bulrushes. And then they also need to win a fight against a red hot. I guess so they can learn how to breathe fire. They can lose the fight, and if your bulrushes break midway through, they just self-destruct and leave the garden. Everything about the dragonflies is dragon-themed. Their home is a suit of armor, and one of the wildcard variants we had dragon horns. One very cool piñata is the arachnid, feared by teflies, raisins, and buzzlegums. I always liked how arachnids and scorpions and also crustaceans had the correct number of appendages in the game, instead of the developers stiffing us like in some other games. Probably the only piñata not based on a candy but rather an expression, Sweet Tooth's home is a beaver dam. I was excited at first that I could finally place a home in the water, seeing as the Sweet Tooth home has water all around it, but you can't. It's like there's the beaver dam, water around it, and then another layer of earth. What a ripoff. Buzzengis are kind of like the poor man's eagles. They love canneries so much you need to have 5 of them for them to visit, and they eat 3 of them. Don't worry, they eat all the small birds too. Sparrowmints, robins, pigeons, partridges. Damn. Hooty Fruities are like the night version of Buzzengis. They eat mice and sherbets, and everyone's afraid of their creepy fucking walks. An Arctic variant can be found in the Pinarctic, and their home is this like Harry Potter looking stack of books. Let's talk about the last 6 sour piñatas. A sour smelba will break romances in progress, but once tamed with roses, will scare ruffians away. Not very useful when you can just buy the captain's cutlass. A sour macaroon will steal eggs from the garden, but once it eats a cluckles, the tamed version will... checks notes. Can be instructed to find romance candies underground. I really like how the macaroon runs around on its tiptoes. Its house is also a trash can. A sour mellow wolf will scare away all piñatas, but once tamed will scare away ruffians. Once again, not very useful, and the sour version needs to eat 3 hawkhearts instead of raspberries, which is kinda weird. The sour crocodile will attack your helpers, but once converted, it has a very useful ability: crocodile tears. Sweet dreams are made of tears. I can use to fertilize a tree or any plant. The sour limoceros must eat 3 parmadillos to be converted, just like in real life. A converted specimen will yeet Professor Pester out of the garden, at least 99% of the time. No bro, come on, come the fuck on. Stupid fucking game. I just alt F4'd. Finally, let me tell you about 3 monkeys and our final sour, the bonbon. I have quite the history with this piñata. Fight the fucking monkey! The sour bonbon starts fights between your piñatas by shit-talking to them, and to convert it, it must lose a fight against a serpent, a twinger snap, or 4 heads. Once converted, the bonbon will stop fights between piñatas, which is very useful because there are many rivalries in the piñata kingdom. The easiest of the monkeys to convert, the cinnamonkeys are happy with some monkey nuts, bananas, and a barrel. In fact, their home is a giant barrel too. The sarsaparilla, if not the most difficult to get piñatas, probably the most annoying one to get though. I made an entire 10-minute video explaining how to get it. Probably the worst prerequisite is having a baby bonbon in the garden. You know, when baby piñatas grow up in like 30 seconds. The trick is you can hold a bonbon egg until you see a sarsaparilla, because the egg won't hatch in your hand. The most annoying flying piñata pathfinding award goes to the Peribo. They need to eat a bunch of stuff to become residents, though they are a colorful addition to your garden, no doubt about it. The Igler, or as I like to refer them, the Eagle of Death, looks like an American bald eagle, but they are more like a harpy eagle because they eat cinnamonkeys and peribos. This was quite annoying in our jungle episode of Themed Park. The eagle will want to hunt the peribos and the cinnamonkeys. Volchurros are quite hardcore. They must eat bones and a crawler to become residents. I quite enjoy natural themed piñata homes, and the Volchurro home is no different. Put it in a cacti field as a giant cactus. People find donuts quite hard to attract, but they are fairly easy. Have 10% long grass and 5 bluebell flowers, and that's it. Converting donuts to mujus is super easy too. Simply feed them a first seed, just like in real life. Both donuts and mujus fall prey to the big cats of the piñata kingdom. Pigeons seem like the first piñata you would get. However, you need 3 things real pigeons like: bread, seeds, and Shirigon statues. This time a Banjo and Kazooie statue, as the developers also created that game. Out of the 4 horse piñatas we managed to attract in episode 2, the Ponoki is the easiest, though I always found them difficult to attract because they need 10 flowers and 10 carrots. by the time they visit the garden, a stray bunny comb would just eat all the carrots. Horstachios need 50% short grass, you hear me? Don't paint your entire garden with long grass like I did, thinking they needed long grass. They also love apples and carrots, and don't forget the hay bale. But if you can't get a real horstachio, buy the dummy from the shop, which looks just like a real horstachio. Obligatory, just like in real life, once you feed a horstachio a blackberry and a white daisy, they turn into a zumbug. However, they are not black and white. They are purple and purpler. The fourth and final horse piñata on the list is the elusive Chunicorn. You think that it would be the hardest piñata to get in the entire game, but all it needs is a gem tree. Just don't let those pesky tafflies eat the gems because they too count as fruit. The Gooba deserves to be in the second to last farm piñata spot. Now that's a real elusive piñata. To attract it, you need long grass, snowdrop flowers, which are only used for the Gooba in terms of resident requirements, and for some reason, fences. You can send them to the shearing shed to produce wool. The final farm piñata, the Musipan, is like the mega horstachio or ponoki. They need long grass, 10 buttercup flowers, gooseberry desserts, and don't forget the milk churn decoration. You can send a Musipan to the milking shed to create... A flapjack can also be milked, though they are not an evolution of the Musipan. Attract them from the Pinarctic with fir cones and figgy puddings. I really like how colorful the flapjacks are, and their home is literally a breached submarine. Fizzly bears are really annoying to attract. You need bees, bee homes, beehives, bee honey, ants, which also eat the honey, and you also need prickly pears. A prickly pear is a type of weed. If any resident piñatas eat their flower, they become unresident. So you need to build this elaborate prickly pear garden to just contain them. They are resident evil. Once you feed a blue gem from the gem tree to the Fizzly bear, they become polar bears or pololi bears. But they really just look like Minecraft dogs. Like, it's very hard to explain, but Minecraft polar bears look less like Minecraft polar bears than pololi bears do. The Walrusk is the second to final Arctic piñata and the ultimate water and snow piñata to go with your pangums. Just like real-life walruses, they eat crabs. Standing here, I realize. And Walrusks are very scary looking, but ultimately very cool looking and peaceful piñatas. And the ultimate Arctic piñata and cryptid is the jelly or yelly, resembling the Tibetan yeti. I guess they are also the final monkey piñata. They live in this giant frozen castle, just like Tilda Swinton, the White Witch, lived in Narnia. The ultimate water piñata is the hippopotamus. You best create a brand new garden for these guys because 60% water actually covers most of the garden deceptively because of how much extra space water takes up in Viva Pinata. You also need 9 of one of the water plants. I recommend bulrushes because they take up the least amount of space. And you also need 9 total watercresses and water lilies, but these can be just free flowers fertilized because, well, hippos have a large appetite. Elephanillas are slightly less annoying in Trouble in Paradise than the original game because instead of requiring 16 of 4 separate fruits and vegetables, they just require a couple of bananas, coconuts and chilies. They must be Indian elephants because their home is a Taj Mahal-like palace. Interestingly enough, desert piñatas don't need as much sand as water or Arctic piñatas need water or snow. The ultimate desert piñata requiring 20% sand is the Camelo. They like Arabian coffee and they live in this Aladdin-esque magic lamp house. The most finicky piñata in the entire game is the Galagugu, based on the real-life Galago, or more commonly known Bush Baby. You need 16 tulips in the garden or 8 moth drops to begin with. You also need to have completed the Tower of Sour by either converting all sours in the game or buying all the totem pieces. In Trouble in Paradise, that's 12 sours, remember. You also need a moon on a stick decoration as a nightlight, I guess, and it's the only piñata in the entire game requiring a night watchling helper to keep guard, I guess. We are approaching the final 4, and there are 2 big cat piñatas we need to talk about. One of them, the Rorio, requires a target-rich environment, 5 donuts and 5 zombugs. And, as it befits a king, your garden must be worth over 40,000 chocolate coins. Trouble in Paradise's Rorio is the elusive Tigirmisu, requiring 12 tiger lilies, of course, just to appear. Then it needs to hunt striped creatures, a buzzlegum, a zombug, and for some reason 2 mujus. I've never gotten these variants, but there is an Arctic white tiger variant and a little saber-toothed tiger wildcard variant with massive fangs. The quintessential final piñata from the first game, the Dragonache, first needs to be mined out in the shape of an egg. A Cluckles hatches the egg, and depending on the surface where the egg was, it changes the color of the final dragon. Then the baby Dragonache needs to eat a couple of things, including dragon and fire piñatas, to grow up, and once grown, they will literally burn Professor Pester alive, which is not that useful when it also destroys half of your garden. If you thought acquiring a Dragonache was hard, try Trouble in Paradise's Dragonache, the Chocolate Docus. The Chocolate Docus deserves to be in the final piñata spot as the most difficult and obscure piñata to get. Originally, I didn't want the video to drag on for too long, so I was going to show you all the steps on one image, but it felt a little anticlimactic for the final piñata, so here it goes. Acquiring a Chocolate Docus is an 8-step process. First, you need to acquire 3 dinosaur bones. Many people don't know, but these can be the same color. For instance, my Chocolate Docus in the video was created with 3 red bones, both from the shop, but you can also dig for blue and green bones randomly from the mine. Then you need to ask Bart to tinker with the bones. The order in which you tinker with the bones will determine your Chocolate Docus's features. Then you need to get amber, which you get from the wishing well if you donated 9,999 chocolate coins. You can only get 1 Chocolate Docus because you can only get 1 amber per profile. To unlock the wishing well, you need to go into the main menu credits and destroy all piñatas with your shovel. Even to just unlock the credits, you need to unlock all piñatas in the game, or, and you did not hear this from me, you can start a new garden and name it Piñata People with the weird Spanish N, and you can automatically unlock the credits. So you beat the piñatas in the credits, buy a wishing well from Castellot, spend 10k money and get your amber. Combine the dinosaur bones with the amber by placing them all in a garden storage and getting an egg in return. Hatch the egg by directing a Cluckles wearing a Jurassic hat to the egg. To grow up your baby dinosaur, feed it a bone, a milk, a gecki, a gemelion, and a crocodile. There are also some scrapped piñatas the developers wanted to add, like a kangaroo and a rattlesnake. I wonder if the rattlesnake would have fought the chameleon like Rattlesnake Jake fights Rango in the movie Rango. They also wanted a giraffe piñata, but in the end, they didn't add it because they feared it would bump its head on trees, or it would just collide through the trees like in Gmod. Seeing as water is pretty much useless and annoying, they also wanted to add a couple of fish piñatas. You can see one on the head of Miss Petula, actually. There was going to be this really cool sour shark that turned into a friendly hammerhead shark too. That's it for today. Thanks for sticking with me until the end of this video. I hope it was informative to you. If you like Animal Park content, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you like the video and comment under it, more people will see it. This has been Two Siders. Bye bye.